workshop. The first part is I've kind of put together a panel of professionals, communication professionals who truly live the work that they do, um, and give back to their community in a lot of different ways. Each of them serves on boards, have started nonprofits, have been in the shoes of other nonprofit board members. And I think their perspective will be really helpful because they know and understand all of the challenges that especially smaller nonprofits face every day. They don't have full-time or any large, by any means, communications, PR, marketing staff available at all. So what I've kind of asked them to do is I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves and talk, mention what boards you serve on, but then maybe describe for us and for the group a media uh, campaign that you might have done recently that you thought worked really well. Drew, I can think of a couple ideas that relate to the Public School Foundation Board that we've done recently there. So I'm just going to turn it over to our panelists. I have Drew Spurgers, Jessica Crum, and Pete Tangway, and we'll just go in that order. And so, Drew, if you will go ahead and start, then Jessica, and then Pete. So take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Shelley. First of all, happy to be here. And by here, I mean my home office. This is fantastic. I'm loving that Zoom's working so well for all of us these days and lets us do things like this. And also honored to be on a panel with Jessica and Pete, both people that I just have a ton of respect for and consider friends and enjoy getting to work with. And I think that these kind of relationships are what really make Conway special, is that we've got this tightly woven fabric of individuals that are willing to contribute to something greater than just our own personal aspirations to help make Conway a better place. So excited to see you guys all here wanting to be a part of that. As Shelley mentioned, I have the pleasure of serving on the Conway Public Schools Foundation board. I'm currently the board president, but have been on the board for, I guess this is probably my 6th year. And in that time, due to the great efforts of our fantastic board and support from our community, we've grown our endowment with the Arkansas Community Foundation from less than 200,000 when I came on the board to we're pretty rapidly approaching our $1 million goal. So really excited about what that's going to allow us to do to continue empowering educators to make impactful student experiences in Conway schools. So we rebranded last year, and with that talked a lot about what our mission really was and changing kind of the focus of our aesthetic from the foundation, where our old logo was, you know, a graduation cap, which kind of led people to think that we were either a scholarship organization or maybe dedicated to, you know, scholastic improvement or something along those lines. We rebranded to kind of speak to what we really see ourselves as. And we really function more as a startup incubator or kind of cultivators of ideas, or catalysts to ideas would be a better word for that. Meaning that we're not here to come up with a bunch of new programs and new things to do. We're not the ones to come up with all the great ideas, because those great ideas are already happening from our educators every day. They already know what needs to happen in their classroom, and they have these fantastic above and beyond ideas to really transform the student experience. And so we exist to just help empower them and to help make that happen. And that's been done primarily through our classroom impact grants, which is kind of what Shelley made a mention to earlier. And really what the proceeds from our endowment do every year. The proceeds from our endowment go straight to funding those classroom impact grants. And I believe Shelley asked about something we've done communications wise recently to kind of really get the word out and make a difference. And along with our rebrand last year, one of the things that we became aware of is that partially because of the name of our organization, Conway Public Schools Foundation, people think that we are the school board, and they think that I am the school board president, and I am certainly not that important, nor am I that qualified. So we're a very different organization, and part of what we realized was that we needed to do something to help people understand what we did and what the difference was between the two organizations. So our rebrand was the first part of that. And then we had a series of initiatives that came afterwards to help people understand who we are and what we do. And what I'm guessing Shelley was thinking when she mentioned something effective we've done recently is back in the fall, we started a Teacher of the Week program. And it's a really simple program where anyone, teacher, parent, student, administrator, coworker, anybody that has any exposure or experience with the schools can go online to our website and nominate a Teacher of the Week any week. And they get to write a little blurb about how they know that person and why they are nominating them. And it's been a really effective program that I think will continue for years to come, but we found it to be especially effective during COVID because it gave us the opportunity to do something to kind of be a shot in the arm of some energy and some inspiration for our teachers. So if you've had a chance to follow the foundation on Facebook, it's pretty much the happiest thing that happens for a lot of our board members every week because we get to show up at a school and kind of Publishers Clearinghouse style award a Teacher of the Week certificate and a coffee mug and some cookies to an educator each week. Costs us next to nothing because of our partners in making that program happen, but it has been fantastic for us, not only in helping energize and excite our teachers, but it's also been a great exposure generator for us. And we actually, as people nominate, they have to leave their email address, just letting us know how they've nominated. And we sent our end of the year appeal out to everyone that had contacted the foundation or participated at all this last year, as well as just a community impact survey last year, and found that the data is already telling us that those people that are excited to help excite teachers, help motivate teachers, are also willing to be a part of our organization, are willing to be donors, are willing to get involved in volunteering in the future, and are really just looking to do the same thing we're doing, looking to empower educators to make that really transformational experience in classrooms. So, Shelley, is that what you were looking for from me?
That is. I have more questions for you, only because by position, I serve as an ex officio member on the Conway Public Schools Foundation Board. So I get to see this very energetic board in action every month. And so I get to stay up to date on what's going on. So, okay, Jessica, we'll move to you next.
Hey guys, I'm Jessica Crum. I run a branding agency here in Conway called Silver Lake Design Studio. We've been around for 6 years and actually got started doing nonprofit work. I was a fashion designer by trade and honestly just wanted some of our nonprofits here in Conway to get more exposure. So that's how I got into branding in the first place. But now we serve people across the state and across the nation. I want to talk about something that we've seen proven to work when it comes to social media and nonprofits. I'm just going to get straight to it because I'm a workshop teacher more than I am a speaker. So I have an acronym for you. Write this down, WEAR. When you're doing your social media for your nonprofits, it sucks. No one likes doing social media. It's, time, it's time sucking, it's soul sucking. Some people like it. Okay, some people like it, but like Pete, he likes it right now, but give him a few more months. And but it's at some point you feel like you've posted about everything you could possibly post about. You're running out of ideas and inspiration. I think we all get to that point. I want you to have a formula that you could go back to. And this is an acronym, WEAR, that you can go back to. It's tried and true. Doesn't take a lot of, soul searching to come up with something to post. And you can outsource it to an intern or someone else who's doing your social. But I basically want you to wear your heart on your socials. So when I say that, I mean, people want to hear stories. Y'all know that. You've been to these workshops before. But you're like, man, do I have to write a blog post every time I say something on social media? No, you don't have to. You can still wear your heart on your socials by even sharing facts. So this acronym includes ideas that are 5 times more likely to receive engagement when compared to other types of posts. And of course, there are other factors at play here. Video gets a lot more engagement if you're posting on social media. Obviously, if you are leading people outside of the social media platform, they don't love that. So if you're sending people to your website for the information, that's not usually well received by somebody like Facebook or LinkedIn. So there are other factors like that, but content wise is what I'm talking about here. This is content that you guys as organizations can use to post, and you can give this content to your board members, and it's not salesy content. It's content they would be comfortable and excited to post and share about. So where, WEAR, W is wins, E is experiences, A answers, and R reminders. Wins, experiences, answers, and reminders. So wins, these are actually the wins of your organization. Your followers and your audience, they want to know what you guys are doing and what's going on behind the scenes. Even though it's everyday life for you, it's interesting to the people who don't do nonprofit for a living or are contributing to your nonprofit. So it could be if you added a new classroom or you added a few new, foster homes for your animals, whatever it is that's going on behind the scenes, share your wins with your followers. Pictures, videos, tell them the details, even the little things like, if there's some certain type of furniture that you've put in the lobby because it helps with the people who have, special needs kids that are coming to visit you, whatever it is, there are those little things are the things that, that are interesting to people who don't work in your world. So that's wins. Experiences. These are the external experiences of your clients. So this is where I want you to try and imagine what are the everyday things that your clients are going through or struggling with that everyday people don't even think twice about. Like, does your client have 2 kids and they're single mom and they have a job, but they have no transportation? That's an experience that a lot of us might not be familiar with. We have cars and a way to get to our work, or, things like that, that are everyday experiences that your clients go through that are unique to their situation that might not be an everyday experience for everyone else. And then answers. This is where I want you to think about when people call you on the phone and they're like, hey, so you guys have a food pantry, right? How does that work? What should I bring? You get these questions all the time that you're answering over and over again. Start posting about them. Start answering your FAQs, your frequently asked questions, on your social media. And just don't ever assume that everybody who's following you knows what you do. Even if you're not getting questions on a regular basis, ask them for your audience, because they don't know everything you do for the most part. And you should assume that you're getting new followers all the time who don't know everything about you. And then fourth, reminders. So this is where I want you to remind people what you need. Sometimes you might just need prayer and great thoughts from your audience. Sometimes you need specific supplies or funding for something specific, reminding them on a regular basis what you need. That's really all of this is really shareable content. This is stuff that your board members are going to be comfortable talking about, and the things that your organization can post about, and it won't be, hammering everybody for donations all the time. I have a lot more to say about campaigning for donations, but I don't want to hear myself talk anymore. So I'm going to pass it over. And you guys, if you have questions about campaigning for donations, I have some tips about that too.
Great. And we will be back, Jessica, don't worry. Okay, Pete, it's your turn.
So you asked what boards we're on. I'll just tell you up front, I'm on more boards than anybody should ever be on. So, but a few of them that I'm really happy about. Obviously, the Arkansas Community Foundation, I'm the board chair for communications on that, and I'm going to kind of highlight that a little bit in a second. I'm also this year's board chair for the Chamber of Commerce, the board chair for the Symphony, and I'm doing a professional golf tournament, the Central Arkansas Open, that benefits the Arkansas Community Foundation, and a number of other things. So I really have a great time being involved with community, and our mission at Rock Pond Pros is to impact people. And so that's really what it's about. So one of the things I did last year is I decided, my next door neighbor who works, he's a professor at UCA. He said, you could get some interns from UCA. And I thought, well, that'd be a great idea, because I've got all this stuff I'm doing. What better than to have some young talent that's excited to get in the workforce? So I had 5, and I call them social media interns that worked for me last year. And I learned so much, not only about social media, what it was, but what it's not. And so I want to kind of fast forward to what I really learned. And I think the number one takeaway was, you cannot you cannot look at social media as something that's independent. It is a part of your overall brand. It's a part of your marketing plan. You don't hire someone and say, hey, do you know social media? Do my social media. Because the social media is kind of the final mile of the message you're trying to get out. And the people that know social media, they don't know the message you're trying to get out. The people that do the social media shouldn't have to come up with the message. They need to figure out what's the best way to deliver it to the audience and as a part of the overall marketing plan. So that's the first thing is, as an organization, if you don't really know your brand, what differentiates you, stop the social media stuff and go figure that out. Because I heard this a long time ago, if you don't know who you are, your customers won't know who you are. If you don't know your value, your customers won't know your value. So that is where you start. And then once you do brand, then it's what's my core value and what's my mission. And when you really figure that out, then you're at the point you can start a marketing plan. And a marketing plan is just telling people your value and telling people your brand and what you're passionate about. So when I took over the communications committee as the board chair for the Community Foundation, I kind of had this approach. It's like, I don't know what I need to put on social media. I don't know what I need to communicate. I need to find out who that is by talking to the people at the state office and so on. And so before I did any communication, I learned that the Arkansas Community Foundation really has 4 audiences that they're going after. They have a message and they want to tell that message to nonprofits. They want to communicate that message to high net worth individuals that are going to set up a fund. They want to communicate that same message in a different way to professional advisors, trust attorneys and wealth managers and tax accountants and all the people that are advising high net worth individuals. And they want to tell that same message to community leaders. So we have 4 different audiences, same message. Now, when you think about marketing, it's like, how do I reach those audiences? Well, there's print, magazines, newsletters, newspapers. Newspapers still are viable. They're not the main communication. There's podcasts, there's blogs, there's social media, there's email, and believe it or not, there's still the US mail. And I don't know who sent you the last handwritten card in your mailbox, but I bet it had an impact on you. There you go. There you go. And so really, I would just boil it down to this. Figure out what your message is. And you already know your brand. You already know what you want to communicate. And then you say, what's the best way to communicate to this audience? Oh, they're always on Instagram. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to use this kind of caption with this kind of picture because it's at this kind of audience. How about these people? These are business people. Well, they're on LinkedIn. Okay, this is how we do that on LinkedIn. And so you just segment it out. And just as an example, we had our board meeting, the last Community Foundation's board meeting. And after the board meeting, I called Shelly and I said, that was a great board meeting, wasn't it? And she said, yeah, it really was. I said, we got a lot of stuff done, didn't we? She goes, yeah, we did. I said, well, we need to tell somebody about it. So what did we get done? And she goes, I don't know. Well, let me think about that and I'll email that to you. And she emails me, well, we approved a $5,000 grant from our Education Venture Task Force Fund to 4 rural school districts. And then she also said when they called one of the school districts to say that they got $1,250, the lady started crying on the phone. We gave $1,000 to CAPCA to address those affected by transitional homelessness. Somebody gave us a $5,000 gift for this year's Giving Tree grant fund. So now we have more money. We discussed our strategic vision for our affiliate and the statewide organization. and we celebrated the new location for Conway's Ministry Center. So the social media team doesn't have to come up with a message. They just have to listen for it. It's the responsibility of the organization to say, this is our brand, this is our message, this is our audience. We have the easy job. All we gotta do is tell the message. And so my word to you is to divide it up and get to where you have a systematic way of telling your message consistently, clearly, in the right words, on the right platform, to the right audience. And it'll make a difference. So that's what I would say. How about that, Shelley?
That was great, Pete. And Jessica, that ties right into your where. You know, what we talked about when Pete and I talked after the last board meeting. And when you do, you just sit down and think about it. And I think every board president or it's something that we're actually going to add to the end of our agenda and get feedback from the board members. Okay, what do you think we accomplished here today? What would you like to tell your mom about? Or, you know, and that ties in, you know, I really like that where. I think that's going to be an easy way to kind of have those ideas fit. You know, you've all mentioned some different kinds of social media platforms, and we'll kind of narrow our focus to that a little bit. So thinking about a typical medium-sized nonprofit, which may not have a big staff, which platform do you think is the most effective for a nonprofit to maybe start with or to concentrate on? And so I'll open it up to all the panelists.
We have a lot of local nonprofits who just use Facebook, LinkedIn, and their website because, like you're saying, they are running it in-house. There's not a lot of even time to do that. I mean, they also are doing email marketing. So I guess that's, if we're talking about all forms of marketing, you know, there are some other forms of digital marketing, but social media platforms, some of our nonprofits are only using Facebook. And that's probably because of the demographic that they're going after. So, and LinkedIn, same thing.
So is there an advantage with different social media platforms with different demographics? I mean, and Pete kind of mentioned this, you know, why we've been pushing some things out to the local paper, because some of the people, the high net worth individuals tend to be a little older.
Right.
And I think still read the paper. So we want them to see that story.
Might be. And so if I'm an animal shelter who needs foster homes, you know, Facebook is an okay platform for me if I want donations, but if I want foster, you know, young, early 20s people who want to foster animals and are, you know, eco-friendly and locally grown kind of demographic. Honestly, if I'm an animal shelter and I need foster parents like that, I'm probably looking at, you know, TikTok or Instagram or, you know, other places where they are. Yeah, so it's so different. Like if I need people, you know, if I need, you know, warm bodies, then sometimes that's a whole other story than if you need donors, you know? So yes, demographic is everything, like Pete was talking about.
Yeah, and I think demographic matters, and I think what kind of content you have matters. So I agree with Jessica completely. And you know, a animal shelter who's looking for fosters fortunately has cute, cuddly animals that they can post great videos and photos of on Instagram and Facebook. Whereas sometimes with something like the foundation, as much as we'd like to highlight student impact, we can't post photos of students without express release from parents, and that can be rescinded at any time. So it's just kind of muddy. So we instead tend to focus on featuring educators. So the kind of content you have to be able to share definitely makes a big difference to what you're putting out there as well.
Right, and I guess what I would say again, it would get back to what I said about it, the audience is different. You know, business people is LinkedIn and Twitter. Kids are on TikTok and Instagram. I think, adults, at least so many that I know, are on Facebook. And so and then you can't forget email, and you can't forget, I mean, they're not really considered social media, but it's very important. So, I mean, if you want a cute puppy to get in the house, you probably should show it to the 10-year-old girl, because she's going to make her mom and dad go get it. But if you're trying to raise support for the animal shelter, you don't want to necessarily say, we want money. You might want to use Twitter or another platform to just talk about the impact you're making on the community, so that would resonate with their passion. Just as an example, we got involved with the Log Cabin, and they just did a whole special on the need for broadband in Arkansas. And they're going to do these big special, once a quarter. And at the end, the next quarter is going to be on food insecurity. So if you're a nonprofit that addresses food insecurity or broadband, you missed for broadband, you missed an opportunity. For food security, you got an opportunity coming up. And they're going to do that. And the Log Cabin just started a Conway on the Record podcast. And so they're going to be interviewing people, and, you might be someone that they should interview if you're into the kinds of things that they're talking about. And these media companies, I mean, so far this year, we've been in 501 Magazine, we've been in Faulkner County Lifestyle, we've been in the Log Cabin, and we're trying to get in different people's newsletters and stuff like that. So the same message can go to different mediums, different platforms, with a different message. So that's what I would say. So it really, it's who you're after.
I do want to leave time for the people, the participants here, to ask questions directly. I just have one more question, and then we'll kind of open it up. If you could caution local nonprofits about, maybe one mistake not to make, or something you've seen where people try, or it doesn't work, or, what kind of advice would you give to say, don't do this, do this instead, or what mistakes are you seeing out there?
So the first thing that I would say, especially if we're looking specifically at social media, is please, for the love of God, lay off the Canva some, because every post that is a background with text slapped over it that's posted on Facebook and gets no interaction is because the algorithm is throttling that. When we look at social media, we're looking at the operative word being social. It's about people, and it's about connection, and it's about relationships. And I connect with Jessica's face much more than I connect with a Silver Lake logo, in the same way that I connect with the people in my company more than I do with my brand. What matters is the human side of it. And so I love Jessica's acronym of WHERE, talking about these experiences that really matter for real life people. And so if you're struggling with, I don't know how to put content out because I don't have a graphic designer, or I can't do something that is super attractive, a nice photo, it doesn't have to be professional quality, just a nice composed, decently lit photo with a great caption is going to serve you way better than a graphic you paid someone to create time and time again.
Yeah, 100%. I would say when you're fundraising, if you put a need out there and leave it open-ended without any urgency, or a goal attached to it, it's usually not as successful as if you put a goal and a deadline on your fundraising needs. So, I mean, most of us do that already when it's Giving Tuesday or end of the year, but there are other options and opportunities to do that throughout the year, in the same way that you're writing a grant, for $5,000 worth of equipment. Some of those could be online fundraisers. If you find yourself writing an $800 grant, I promise you, you can go on Facebook and post about it, get it shared, give people, crowdfund it through Facebook a lot faster than you could probably write that grant. But yeah, we've seen those small micro fundraisers do really well on Facebook. An example is Conway Ministry Center. I'm on their board. We raised $30,000, I think, on Facebook to run the warming station this last fall. The summer before that, I think we raised bring before that, like 7,000 to extend the warming station in like 3 or 4 days. So those like tight deadlines, micro asks, those do really well on social media.
I think the one thing not to do, and I usually don't like talking in negatives, but is so I'm going to say it in a positive. Always, if somebody comments on something, you need to engage back, because what Drew just said is it's about connecting. It's about engagement. It's not just about getting likes. It's about getting engagement and creating a following, and that's what it's about. And there's many tools like Buffer and Hootsuite and so on that you can actually look at your different social media without being on the platform and seeing what posts you have that haven't been responded to and so on. So to me, the number one thing not to do is don't post something and then leave. That's like saying, hey, Jessica, I got something to tell you, and then walking away. You know, it's like if you tell somebody something and they ask a question about it and you're not there, you just blew it, you know. And so that's just have a strategy to respond and truly connect, like you're wanting to engage with somebody. That's what
I have something I would add to that, Pete. That's a really good point, and something that is sort of a hidden secret of social media is that you can build your following organically by doing exactly what you're talking about, just going and engaging on other people's posts. So I just started a school here in Conway. It's a gap year program for creatives. It's called the Creative Institute of Central Arkansas. You can check out more online at creativeinstitutear.org. But I have one employee, Nick Stevens, and I'm not kidding you. I have asked him right out the gate when he started, I want you to set aside 15 to 20 minutes each day to go and comment on other organizations, other schools, other businesses, social media posts. Because if we're engaging on their stuff, then we're seen by them and their audience. And again, it's like the only way to network right now. I mean, my gosh, we can't go to any, networking events. So it's really important. And we've seen, I mean, you literally will see results the same day if you start engaging on other people's social media. So if you find yourself, you're like, we only have, 200 followers, what is the point? Honestly, stop, putting so much pressure on yourself to post every day and start going out and engaging on other people's posts periodically too. Put it on your calendar, like Pete is saying, be really intentional and have a strategy. Like I said, my one employee has to put 15 to 20 minutes in a day, go in and commenting and engaging on other people's stuff.
Right, and one strategy that we're going to have at the Community Foundation is, like, when we come out of the board meeting and we find out, we identify that, okay, we gave a grant to CAPCA. Instead of us posting on our social media that we gave a grant to CAPCA, we talk with Jennifer at CAPCA and say, would you post something about receiving this grant, the impact it's going to have on your people, and how thankful you are for it? And then we'll share that on our page. And so if you, it's just so much more impactful if we're sharing somebody being appreciative for a grant and saying the impact it's going to have than us just posting, hey, we just gave somebody some money. So, and it's also a way to kind of work together as a team. And when you think of the organic reach out, it's exponential.
Those are all great ideas. And so I do want to, it's about 22, we've got about 10 minutes for anybody, any of the participants. If you have any questions, just unmute yourself and you can direct it to the panel as a whole or to an individual. So we'll just kind of open it up, see if you have any questions.
I had a question for Mr. Pete.
Okay.
So you're on like the board of communication, so you obviously have like a lot of experience with communicating and with different audiences. So I think at my organization at Rice House, I think they have the like they have the wins and experiences and answers, but we don't really have the like the professionals to actually reach audiences, because we're mainly on Facebook. So with interns, like we would love to have like an intern come to kind of focus on all of that, but what they would need like some kind of mentor or someone to help them along. So how can we, should we hire someone as a media person, or like kind of where's that road? How do we start with that? I guess I was trying to ask.
So let me make sure I understand the question. And the question is, you feel like you have that, you just don't know how to get the word out, and so you need someone to do that?
Yes, and obviously I think like like you said, like college students really want internships, but they also want someone to be like that mentor to when they have questions to be able to ask someone, which I don't think anyone here is really like the best experienced with that kind of stuff.
Right. So I think what I would say, and interns are great, but they don't always know what to do. They're really looking for you to tell them what to do. So when you get an intern, you're thinking that intern is going to know everything. And then you're going to go home going, man, the intern keeps asking me what to do. So what I would say is simplify the message. In other words, if I asked you right now, what's the most important message you'd have? I just want to get to know your organization. What is it? You would tell me, post that. And what I try to tell people is, I think we overcomplicate it. Everybody on the communication committee at the Community Foundation said, I'll do anything, but I don't know anything about social media. Don't ask me to do anything about social media. And it's just like, you don't know how to tell someone that we gave someone a grant? I mean, that's not that hard. What, Drew, Jessica, how would you add to that? I'm not sure I really answered that so well.
Well, specifically, I was going to say specifically for this organization, just your name change and telling the story about what your new name means, I think would be, to Pete's point, a good, easy, straightforward story.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Well, and it's true, you bring on interns and you want somebody who can do everything for social media, but what I've even found at Silver Lake is that there are some of us who are really good at the content, and there are some of us who are really good at the administrative side of social media. So you really can't, it's very rare you're going to find both, especially in a college intern who doesn't have experience. So you almost have to split that up and choose, do you want them to do the administrative or the creative? They can only do one if, administrative, creative. If you want them to do creative, send them out to get pictures and videos and, have them write a whole Google Doc of caption ideas. But you can't expect them to do all that and then know how to go and schedule and tag and, execute that content really well. It's just two different sides of the brain, in my opinion. And I mean, people can be trained and it's possible. There are a lot of people out there who can do it and do it really well, but it's more successful, honestly, when you let them take one side or the other, and then either take, the other part on yourself or hire it out. You could get some, creative to come out and shoot photos and videos for a day and have a month of content, honestly.
Yeah. And I think, Jessica, I agree completely. And I think one of the dangers of interns, and to be clear, I love interns. We have 2 right now, but the danger with interns is that people think this isn't high enough priority for me to give it to a staff member, so I'm going to give it to an intern instead. And when you assign that level of priority to it, you should expect that level of result from it. And so you've got to set the expectation of what you're looking to get out from it, and really set a target of what they need to hit. And it's a tall order to ask someone who is early in their career or maybe looking for an internship to learn to come in and perform at mastery level. You've got to be ready to invest in them and help train them and teach them and shepherd them along the way, and help them earn additional certifications. And there's a whole lot to that. And I think that Jessica is hitting the nail right on the head to say that find what is in someone's gifting. And if they're gifted in the admin side, let them work on admin. If they're gifted in the creative side, let them work on creative, but don't expect to bring an intern in and say, go manage my social media, and then come back to your office 2 days later with a detailed monthly matrix of what kind of content is going to post on what platform at what time, when we're posting for engagement, what type of creative we're using. Like, professionals don't start out of college at that level. That's a mastery level skill that takes a long time to hone, and constant continuing education to keep up to date with what's actually happening on social media.
So I guess the one thing I would say, maybe to give you something to do, it would be if you looked at another like if we're going to do Facebook, if you looked at a Facebook page that you love to go read because it kept your interest, just look at what they're doing and do that, and just start simple, and just say, I'm going to tell my story from my heart, and the people that reach out and engage, I'm going to engage back. And I'm going to do that for 60 days, 3 times a week, and see what happens. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just do it from your heart and communicate and see what happens. And then you might find someone that engages and ask them, hey, would you help me with social media? I don't know. But that's what I would say. Just do it, and ask the people in your company to do it. Just say, listen, if we don't tell the story, no one's going to know it, and we can't hire an intern to tell the story because they don't know it. So, all right, I'm sure there's other questions. So
Yeah, I think we've got time for one more question before we move on to the next segment. So there's one more question.
I have a quick question. It should be
So this
fairly
is
quick.
Birdie.
Oh, wait. Go ahead, Birdie. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. Go ahead.
Oh, mine may be fairly quick. With speaking about micro fundraisers and social media, what do you prefer? What service to collect those funds in? Like through? We have a PayPal account, but is PayPal, does that?
But one of the ways that's been most successful is literally through Facebook fundraising. So donations. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, Birdie, we got time.
Yeah, my question, I wanted to comment about that and about the whole having a goal and a specific timeline. When we post, okay, I'm a cat rescue. When we have a cat that needs a surgery for an eyeball remover, we do a GoFundMe, and it's phenomenal how quickly we raise the $400 or $800 that we need. So, and that we put 100% on Facebook. Those engagements are so amazing to me. But at the same time, the majority of the stuff that we post on our Facebook page is just off of the web memes kind of things. And I'm just concerned about whether or not that's effective with our audience. I mean, we get a lot of likes, but your comment about likes is not really what you're wanting. We want engagement. So I've got to figure out how to change that.
Any,
Work with 100% volunteer organization. You have volunteers.
yep, that's tough. That is a tough one. Jessica, you have an
Sure.
idea?
So you're asking how to get people to do more like commenting and sharing? Is that what you mean by engagement? Literally?
Yes. So the person that manages our Facebook page mostly just posts a bunch of memes. I mean, I say we got cats out there that need adoption. They need to be posted, but I can't quite figure out how to get that across.
To the person running your social
Because,
media?
she volunteers just like I do.
Hmm.
Correct.
Are you more administrative or creative?
Yeah. I am not either.
Oh, Birdie.
I would say,
Well, then
I
maybe.
think you,
I was
sorry.
going to say, Jessica, to your point, I think then maybe you have one board member who's really good at just kind of the fun, graphics and things. And then somebody else who's on part of the volunteer group, when you have a cat or who needs a home, or you need to do a fundraiser for, or you need to tell a success story of a cat being placed, let that person tell those stories.
Yeah, and I think maybe something else that you might consider trying is, sometimes when we have organizations that want help but may not financially be able to pay someone to manage their social media, something else you might consider is, in a board meeting or with a working group, make a document of examples of types of content you could post. So it might be pictures that people sent in from cats they adopted from your organization years ago, general tips for how to best take care of your cat's health, like different kinds of content that are going to be relevant to the people that are paying attention on your social media, but that don't require your whoever's managing social media for you to come up with new ideas every day. Because that's the thing that a lot of people struggle with, is sitting down, what do I talk about today? But if they can refer to a document of 30 ideas and just pick one and say, oh yeah, Susie just sent us that photo of that cat she adopted 4 years ago. Let's post that. That might be a good way to give them a tool that they can use when they don't know what to do.
Right, and the other thing is, kind of like I said earlier, you don't have to invent the wheel. There are other organizations just like yours in other cities, and go find their Facebook pages and find the ones that everyone's engaged in and look at what they're doing and do that. And you might find somebody that, you know, it's the cat survey of the week every Monday. We're going to ask everybody a question about something about their cat, and everybody responds and they engage. And so by the time you get around asking for people to adopt, you're asking all your friends. You're not just asking people that, so gosh, she's asking me to adopt another animal. You know, so two things: go find people that are doing stuff that's already working and do that, and do things that are engaging, whether it's surveys or just questions and stuff like that.
Yeah, you could ask people like, what's your cat's favorite treat? You know, post a picture of your cat day. Every week you could do that.
Yeah.
People take a lot of pictures of their cats.
Yeah, I hung around
Yes.
Drew and got to know him a long time before I asked him for $1,000.
Oh, what a
Check
nice
your
lead
mail
into
later.
the
There's
next.
a letter.
Yeah, what a nice lead into the next segment. And please, and we really do need to move on to the next section, but I really want to thank Drew, Jessica, and Pete for taking the time out this afternoon and sharing. I think you've given us a lot to think about and a lot of ideas you can take back and try.
Right.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
Godspeed, everyone.
I'm out of here. I'm gonna go adopt a cat.
Okay, there you go.
See ya.
I'm gonna go ask Pete for money.
So yes, so part of, you know, the whole reason that you engage with people via social media or other ways, or keep that relationship going, is that you want them to support your organization, your programs, your community, and you want them to support the things they believe in. And so most of your board members should be on your board because they believe in what you're doing and what your organization is all about. And so a couple months ago, I invited our next speaker, Ashley Coldiron. She is the Chief Development Officer for the Arkansas Community Foundation. And I invited her to come and speak to my board. And she did a quick little exercise, which I think helped me think about ways to make it easy for your board to help you with identifying prospects and with opening the doors and some other things. So Ashley she has a great wealth of experience. She is a wonderful person. I so enjoy working with her. She is always happy. I don't know how she does that, but she is always happy and always willing to help us out. So Ashley, I'm going to turn it over to you and take it away. And we'll have time at the end for questions.
Thank you. And I'll send you some chocolate and wine later for all those sweet comments. I would love, since so many videos are off and I'm not recognizing too many, of course, I see Vicki and I see Shelley and a few folks that I recognize, and thank y'all for being here. But if you wouldn't mind, if you would just use your chat and to say which organization that you are associated with, and how many employees, and like Bertie suggested, if you don't have any employees, just put volunteer run. I just want to kind of see in the chat, like, you know, what all we're, who all we're talking to and that sort of thing. So I can make my comments hopefully be more effective. Oh, great, 4-H, excellent, Candy, wonderful. Y'all just chat them in. Conway Public Schools Foundation, Milestone 50, okay, good. CASA, Conway Alliance, United Way, Reynolds, Literacy Action, Reynolds Performance Hall, wonderful. Oh, great, Vicki, I didn't know that. Children's Alliance Association. Good, Claus. Cats' lives worth saving, that's darling. Okay, that helps me a ton. Okay, great. Well, I am gonna share my screen if y'all don't mind. And just let me know if this is, are you all, I'm probably still showing you all in, there we go. Is that better?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. So I think I a little double clicked there. Oh, hello. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Pause. Wow, look at that. That just rolls right through there. I did not mean for that to happen. But here I am right here on this one. That's going to be interesting. I didn't realize I had put in those transitions. Who knew what I did? So you all are from all different kinds of organizations. And as you all have heard from Shelley and from Pete and Drew, who are all our wonderful board members in Faulkner County. And Shelley, of course, is our executive director, but we have boards all over the state. And so when I talk about, board engagement and everything, what I'm referring to is we have these 29 boards across the state who we deal with on a daily basis through our executive directors. And then we have our state board that is made up of people from all over the state that we work with, and that they are all volunteers, and they are amazing, and they do wonderful things for our organization. So I do, that's when I'm talking about our board, I'm talking about these 30 different boards that we have folks sitting on, and how we engage them in our fundraising activities. We call our fundraising, we call it fund development. It's a bit different than what you all would engage in. But it is what we do every day, all day. So, so let's see if I'm gonna, you know what, I'm just gonna go to this because I don't know how to stop that rolling through there. So I'm just, if it's okay with y'all, Leslie, I wish I could turn it over to you right now, but so I'm just gonna stay in this mode if y'all don't mind. So there are 3 things that we ask these 30 board members, 30 boards of members to do. And that's to be a donor. And you noticed I put it in a certain order, and I meant for that order. I want them to be a donor, I want them to be a door opener, and I want them to be a doer. So those are the 3 things that I want for every board member that sits on any of our boards to do. And this is really what I think, in any time that you are inviting someone to be a member of the boards that you're associated with for your organizations, you need to make certain that you're clear when you invite them to join the board, that these are the 3 things you want them to be. And so we'll walk through this, but it's simple. And if you're asking the right people to be your board members, then this will be easy for them to engage and to do. So first off, I do want, all of the board members to be donors. See, and this is going to be the issue, is I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see. Can you all see can you? Okay, good. Okay. So, as a donor, and you all are going to hear these words, and I want you all to remember them. And please type in any questions that you have, because I'm not able to see my whole gallery. So just chat in any questions that you have, and we'll answer them as we go through this. This is totally interactive, and I intend for it to be interactive. But as a donor, I want them to commit to a meaningful gift, a meaningful annual contribution to the organization. And meaningful for me might not be the same meaningful for Drew, might not be the same meaningful for Pete. It's going to be very different ranges. One board member that we have might be coming to us on the board because they have a wonderful experience in different types of organizations that we want to be more a part of, like grade level reading organizations, such as the Literacy Council person that's on the, that's a participant. So they might be coming onto our board for a very different reason. We need their input, but meaningful to them might be something different than meaningful to somebody who's retired and has possibly something much larger that they'd like to give. So that's leave it to their discretion. I have always shied away from a specific monetary donation. Some organizations have not, and they've said, you know, you must give at least $1,000 every year to the organization. I've seen that work for organizations and against organizations. So you just have to know what's right for your particular organization. The second thing I ask when I'm asking them to be a donor is that, and if I'm ever found dead, murdered at any point, you will know it's by a florist because of what I'm about to say. Never, ever, ever give flowers to somebody when they've had somebody pass away or when you want to honor somebody. What I'd love for you to do is to give a gift to the organizations that you care about, to the organizations that you serve on the board. So say, for instance, if I'm sitting on the board of Birdie's organization, well, if I have a mother who's turning 80 years old and I want to send her a happy birthday acknowledgement tribute, I'm going to send an honor to Claus and make sure that my mother gets an acknowledgement that I've done that in her name, because that's something that's going to make a difference in that organization that I love and care for. And so make sure that your board members know that that's an option for them and that they can do that for your organization. That's a simple and easy way for them to engage all the time with you. And then lastly, we call it the greatest gift costs you nothing. And we oftentimes talk about that with all of our board members, because what we'd like for them to do is to make certain that they place us in their estate plans. So even just a very small percentage in their will, we give them the language to tell them how to do that. We're not shy about it. Everybody's going to die. It's not an issue of if, it's a matter of when. So just don't shy away from it. Just say, here's the language, and I'd love it if the next time you're updating your will document that you'd consider placing us in your estate plan. Just put it out there for them and so they know. So those are 3 ways that they can engage as donors, none of them difficult, and all of them are very easily attainable for everyone to be able to do. I'm just going to roll on through here. So if y'all have any questions, just chat them in. So what I did here was I did want you all to go ahead and have some word tracks. Then Shelley will tell you this is how we do a lot of our coaching and teaching on a statewide level with our executive directors, is we give them actual word tracks that they can use. And so they can actually either verbally say these to board members, or they can email them to board members. So the first word track is, you were selected to serve on this board because of your commitment to our community and its causes. I invite you to consider supporting our mission because you know the impact we are making towards blank. Like, use those words, put it out there to them in an email, say them to them in a board meeting. Like, you are sitting on this board for a reason. If it's something like that, they have come on your board because of a personal story that has happened to them, that they are on your board for a particular reason, they will feel drawn to give because of that personal affiliation they have with your board. And hopefully all of your board members have that personal affiliation, or they feel incredibly strongly about sitting on your board. This second word track, what I like to use is, we've heard the word herd a lot lately, especially with the vaccinations, but herd mentality is a real thing. And you all might have heard the acronym FOMO, fear of missing out. Well, nobody wants to be the outsider. Nobody wants to be the one that's not doing something. And so when you phrase it in the terms of, Did you know that it's a best practice among nonprofits that their board members, all of their board members, give at 100%? And I don't care how much you give, but it's the best practice for us all to give something. And then you can go ahead and say, which is absolutely true, that when you're applying for grants or that when you're doing different things in the community, it is a bragging right to be able to say 100% of our board gives to this organization, and we are proud of that fact. So just use either of those, and again, don't shy away from asking somebody to be a part of the impact you're making. That's something that they should be proud to do. You're not going to, well, I would not publicize the amounts that anybody gives to your organization. You would just make certain that hopefully they felt like it was meaningful for them and when they gave it. Next one is door opener. So now that they've become a donor, so first thing in the door, they've become a donor because you already knew that they were going to be a great board member to start with. So of course they're a donor. Now you're going to ask them to be a door opener. A lot of times people are scared of fundraising because they don't like asking their friends or colleagues or anybody else for money. That is not what this is about. Being a door opener is not about making the request to ask for money. You all, as executive directors or development directors or heads of your organization, will be the ones that can verbalize that and can say those words. There are some board members, Pete Tangway, primary example, Drew, another good example, are really wonderful at being able to say those words and ask people for their donations, ask people to be a part of the impact. But some people feel absolutely not good at that. So ask them to engage as being a door opener. And these are just some suggestions for asking them to be a door opener to you, to other people. So introducing, so what you're asking, these are things that you're asking the board members to do, is introduce your organization, yourself and your organization, to prospective donors and people of influence in your community. Ask them just to open the door for you, introduce you, go have a cup of coffee if you're able to do that right now in your community, have lunch with them, just be, introduce you. That's all you're asking them to do, easy. Schedule a presentation. I don't know how many times people are looking for Lions, Kiwanis, any of those kinds of speakers that they would love to have an organizational representation come and be a speaker to their organization. To their group. So say for instance that you were in front of this group and you had 30 people that you were presenting to. It is highly likely that one of those 30 people that you're presenting to is going to be somebody who is interested in your organization and is going to end up becoming a donor to your organization. So those are great ways that your board members can open that door to you, to all those different prospects that are at those monthly meetings. Another door opener to recruiting CPAs, attorneys, professional advisors, other kind of people that are wonderful for your organization, because once they know the story and what you're trying to do with the impact with your organization, they'll understand that and they will be your communicator, your influencer with all of their clients. And so it's a really great opportunity to just get those people just to know about your organization and to educate them about your organization. When you all are already having donor appreciation events, or hopefully someday we'll get back to that. Some of you all might still be doing that virtually and that sort of thing. But anytime that you all are doing that, just ask your board members to bring their family members, bring their best friend, just bring along a person that might somehow be interested in what you're doing. Just ask them to have a +1. That's all you're asking them to do. It's easy. It's so much more fun when I go to things and I can say, you know, to my girlfriend since I've known since 2nd grade, you know, come on with me to this and we'll have a glass of wine before or after. And it's so much more fun for me. And then I'm introducing that friend to this organization that I love. So that's another great way to include more people and to have more doors open for your organization. And the last thing that I would say, and this is so easy, but I think it's overlooked often, is that just like Shelley and Pete were talking about what they decided to do after that board meeting, to actually tell the stories to different people in different ways. If you're at a cocktail party, if you're at church, if you're at a meeting of a different organization, talking about this organization that you love and asking your board members to tell certain stories is a great way to open up your fundraising to many more people. So just as you're concluding your board member, and pardon me, as you're concluding your board meeting every time, just go ahead and say to people, you know what, I'm going to tell you a story as we leave here. And what your assignment is to tell this to 3 other people. I'm going to tell you a story of what happened just the other day. And then I'm going to ask you to tell that same story to 3 other people. And I'll give you an example of this. So we had a fund holder who the other day who called me and he said, I want to make X grant to this organization that helped us out last month. And I said, well, tell me more about that organization. And he said, well, it was A State in Jonesboro, and they have this special search and rescue thing specifically for gin operators. So this is in a grain mill, gin, GIN, gin mill. And so he said, the other day, I had 2 of my employees, and he owns a big farming operation. He said, I had 2 of my employees that they did not have on the proper harnessing equipment when they went into this grain elevator. And what happened is all of the grain collapsed on top of them. And it was within a very short period that they could not breathe and they could not get them out of there. And A State came and they used this technology that they had created, and they pulled those 2 men out, saved their lives. Literally, they would have suffocated within that grain elevator, and they pulled them out and saved those lives. And so I am turning around as a fund holder, and I'm going to make a grant to this organization because literally they saved my 2 employees' lives. So he made the grant to A State. That made such an impression on me that he would have used this service, and then he would have turned around to make a grant back to this organization that literally saved lives. And then, so what A State will be able to do is go out and do it all over again. So I give you that full example to tell you that, just like Jessica said in the earlier portion, stories are so impactful. And if you can tell a story at every one of your board meetings, and Shelley and I often talk about it as mission moments. And if you can just tell a little story at each one of your board meetings, and then that person, I promise you, your board member will remember that story 1,000 times more than he's ever going to remember any statistic you say during that board meeting. So tell that story and then assign them to tell that to 3 other people. And that will get the word out, and that will open the doors to a lot more people for your organization. Again, back to the word tracks for these door openers. This is our actual word tracks that we give our executive directors. And so what we say to our executive directors is we say, send this actual email to your board members and say to them, please reach out to somebody that you know and introduce me to them. And just so email this person that you know, CC me on it. And so we'll all three be on the same email trail. I'll follow up with them, and it makes it very easy. They literally can cut and paste. But so what I'm telling you all to do is just say, is just put in why they're associated with your organization. Do an intro, write this for your board members, write this email for your board members, but leave it blank for them to have them say why they got involved with your organization. Well, I got involved with Single Parent Scholarship Fund because I myself I was a beneficiary of a single parent scholarship. And there would have been no way that I could have taken care of my 2 children and gone to school full time without the benefit of Single Parent Scholarship Fund or whatever that might be. And then go ahead and say, yes, and I want to introduce you to Tracy. She's our executive director of this organization, and I want you to know her. And so I'd love it if we could all three get together, or at the very least, if the 2 of you all could get together. And so you are giving a warm handoff, an endorsement to this organization, to Tracy and her organization, warm handoff. And then that makes it so much easier for you as staff to reach out to this person and to start the conversation about what your organization does. Let's get together, have a cup of coffee. We'd love to tell you more about it. This isn't an ask. We just want to educate you about our organization and what we do. And that will lead to an ask down the road. This, Shelley alluded to, that I came to Faulkner County a couple of months ago, and we did this very simple exercise with board members. And this is literally, Shelley turned it into a Google Doc, which was excellent. And then it fed back to a spreadsheet that she has control over, and that the development committee determines who they're going to go talk to every month. But this is an excellent door opener exercise, because when you just say to board members cold, you'll say to them, you know, I'd really like for you to introduce me to somebody within the community. They're going to come back with you with a blank stare. But if you say to board members, tell me, do you know somebody who's 72 years old or older? They're going to immediately come up with somebody. Do you know anybody at the local newspaper? They will come up with somebody. Who is your CPA? They'll have an answer. Who is your attorney? Who is your financial planner? Who's your banker? Who's your trust officer? These are people that they deal with every month of their life. They totally know these people. And I guarantee you, if any of your board members asks any of these people for a meeting with the 3 of you all to sit down together, they will say yes, because they are, this board member is their client, and they would do anything to make their client happy. And so that will give you the warm introduction again to all of these people. But don't just ask board members cold, you know, can you think of anybody who needs to know about our organization? No. Can you think of specific person? What I do at our state board meeting is every quarter, we meet every quarter. And so every quarter I'll suggest one specific type of person that I'd like to get in front of. And so what they do is they write down, so I'll give an example. So tell me who your CPA is, if you don't mind. And so they'll send me the CPA's name. Then what I'll do is I'll follow up with an email, and I'll say, Dawn, I understand that your CPA is Joe Blow. And will you reach out and use this email to introduce me to Joe Blow? And Don Greenland will say, well, yes, of course I'll do that. And then he sends the email introduction, and then we're off to the races. We start talking to that CPA. So that's how we do it. And we just kind of focus on a particular different group of people that we want to get in touch with every quarter. And then I follow up with the board member about their particular person, and then we meet. And then what happens next, what's most important of this whole thing, is that next board meeting, Don Greenland will say to the whole state board, okay, well, I introduced Ashley to Joe Blow. It was an easy meeting. We had a terrific time. We had the best tiramisu at Mike's place. And Joe Blow talked about all the different clients he might have that would be interested in our organization. And so that way it full circles back to all the other board members sitting around the table. First off, know, goodness, well, Don Greenland did something easy that I can do also. So it wasn't painful for him. He did it very well. And he even had a good time doing it. So that is just a way to be full circle and to just kind of, again, help your board members to become more engaged and involved. I keep losing my little, I am so technologically challenged, as you all can tell. So the last thing is doer. Leslie, did you have a comment, or you're just laughing at me being technologically challenged? Yes. Okay, so doer. So again, donor, door opener, doer, easy, right? So doer, I know this seems ridiculous, but they need to be present. They need to attend your board meetings. They need to attend your events. They need to be there before they can invite anybody else to join in. So they need to come to things. Ask them to chair a committee or serve as a board officer for that next step in involvement. Again, back to being a door opener, being a doer is actually identifying those donors and asking them to be introduced to you. A lot of times when I'm talking about doer, maybe even not board members, but actually knowing that maybe people are interested in your organization and you want to try them out for the board, but they're not quite at that level yet. So maybe ask them to be on a committee to kind of get them in a little closer, to engage them a little more. And everybody knows once you engage people, and anything on this list is engagement. Once you engage people, then the money follows. Because once they get engaged, they see more about your organization, they love your organization, and they want to do more for your organization. What is it? Where your heart goes, so shall your checkbook, or I'm sure somebody else said it much more eloquently than that. Identify, we've said this already on door openers, but same thing here, actually being a doer to make the presentations or assist in the presentations. If I have a board member who says, I want to invite you to my Kiwanis Club, I say, if I will come to your Kiwanis Club and be the speaker, if you will introduce me. This actually gives all of those people sitting in front of them an automatic endorsement of me because their person that they know has endorsed me. So that's another way that they can be a doer, and it's very little effort for them. Distributing promotional material. Get people to just go out and make sure your promotional material is out and about. Make sure that that it's where it needs to be, and actually they can be the physical deliverers of that. If you're talking about CASA, well, let's talk about, you know, being at the court systems and things like that, and being able to have your materials out there for the judges that hear the cases for CASA. Those types of things. Just think about in terms of that. But those board members can be your doers and can actually facilitate that for you. And they always get something out of it, because when they say as a volunteer, I'm just delivering these for the organization, and they'll be like, oh, you volunteer? Yes, I'm a volunteer. And then that judge might say, oh my gosh, we love CASA. It's the most fabulous organization ever. They'll get a story, then they'll be able to come back to your board and tell that story. a lot of board members don't know exactly how they can be involved with fundraising, but as little as somebody actually, like Pete said earlier, writing a personal note, or if you will create the personal note and then just have them to sign it, that can be an easy way for them to engage in in soliciting donors, because they're stewarding that donor, and stewardship of a gift is the next step in that donor giving more. So that's an easy way for them to do it. Writing personal thank you notes, calling a donor and just saying thank you. That's a wonderful thing for board members to do. Attending trainings, just like the one that you're attending today, that UCA would put on, or Association of Fundraising Professionals, or anything like that, that you can get them more engaged in the fundraising. There are oftentimes different things that I know AFP, for example, has specifically for board members. Invite your board members to come to those. They will hear something totally different than what you might hear as a staff member, and that will get them more engaged in fundraising. I put this on as kind of a funny, but it is so amazing that someone's talent on a board, like baking bread, can be just the thing that can lead to a donor making a second gift. If you say, and I'm going to just say baking bread, but whatever that is, like for instance, I'm going to go back to Birdie's organization because Claus is such a neat thing. But if you can give your donors cat treats that they can give to their own cats or something like that, something that's clever and fabulous. But if you have a board member to deliver that, that's even better, because it's tying that back to that the board member feels like that they're engaging and helping getting this relationship further. So something, just a simple little thank you. And I don't even know if this will work with, but this was a simple little thank you that we did and sent out to everybody. See, I don't think it's going to work on this mode. Well,
I might be able to pull it up. I'll try it while you're talking or taking questions.
So
but we've got this to share if anybody needs it.
Yeah, we did the simple little video, and we did confetti in the air, and that was super fun. And so anyway, so that's Shelley might be able to share that and with volume and everything. But so that's just ways that your board can get engaged. And I tell you, once they start getting engaged and they start doing things and they report back to your full board, you will see that they will become more comfortable and they will do it more often. And that's exactly what you're trying to create. So any questions?
Now's your chance to pick her brain.
Yeah, so actually it seems like there's a couple of questions in the chat. One person's asked, we've tried the personal touch, but we typically get email addresses from our donation systems, an occasional check or phone number. What do you do then? Emails feel too impersonal.
So that's a great question. What I would suggest to do is, if you have an email address, is to make that email back to them. This is just kind of something that I've always learned is however people give to you is how they want to be thanked. And so if a person writes you a check, you write them a personal thank you note back. If they give online to you, you send them an email back that says thank you. But back to that point about how to thank them in the most personal way possible. Put something into that email, start that email with something personal. Like, say for instance, if it's somebody, let's say it's United Way, since we've got a couple from that organization on today. We have appreciated you being a partner with United Way for 5 years. You're a great organization. And I know Leslie, who works at that organization, and please tell her hello for me. And then you go into the body. It makes it personal. It even makes that email very personal. I know somebody you know. Make a connection with that person, even if it's an email. Relational. Any other questions? It's so hard just looking at people's names and not their faces. So I'm happy to see Tracy's and Leslie's and Shelley's face.
I answered in the chat. I do have a copy of the presentation and also the little exercise in a Word document that we can send out, so that if you want to take it and kind of manipulate it, use it for your board. I was really struck when Ashley did the little exercise with our board, because it lets people kind of drill down to, oh, I just have to answer these questions. And the hard work comes later, but at least you've got a place to start.
And a prospect list. So if you have 12 board members and they each give you 5 contacts, very specific contacts, you know, you've got 60 people right there. Okay, 3:30.
You are
not over
good. You
time.
are right on time.
Well, I just want to thank you so much, Ashley. And it's always a pleasure to have you on here. And we do appreciate you allowing us to share that presentation with everybody. And I know some folks had to jump off early, so I'll also send the link to the recording for those who had to leave before this, before we got to the end. So we do want to really thank all of the nonprofit leaders and the board members who joined us today. So if you are a board member, I hope you feel really especially equipped to go take on a leadership role within your board and get other board members really excited as well. So, Shelley, do you
Thanks,
have
everybody. No,
words?
I'm good.
Thanks,
Just
everybody.
remember, apply for grants.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.